to come up with his best 11s and see if they mesh with the currently posted best 11s in both of these leagues. And we'll see what he believes when it comes to what is going on in the USL Championship and in USL League One. So we bring in Kaylor Hodges. Have you effectively hidden? Are you hiding from folks?
Always hiding. That's not just for this though. It's just always hiding.
Excellent. And so, is there more traffic in your location as there was last week, considering it was a holiday week?
No, this is a town of like 1,000 people. There's never more traffic.
Well, I mean, I'm just, just trying to make sure that you're in a quiet environment, and if you are going to be heckled or have a studio audience, that we at least know about it.
Nah, not this time.
Okay. I want to start with the championship game that we had last weekend in USL League One, and we have made the point that the SDH bump does in fact exist across both USL League One and USL Championship. In USL League One last week on Friday, we had Lagos Kunga on the show. And sure enough, Lagos Kunga not only wins with Union Omaha, with Los Bujos, with the Murder Owls, but he scores a goal in that particular match. Let me take this two ways. What would you say of Spokane's season and their playoff run just to get to the last game of the year?
It's hard not to just call it magical for them. I mean, they were really good at the beginning and we're like, whoa, Spokane's really built something here. And then they got into the grind of League One and they started losing and it started looking bad. And then they moved to this 4-4-2. And you're just like, man, is this it? Is this what finally turns things around? And it turns out the answer was yes. And they were really able to do it defensively. And I think whenever you look at League One traditionally, what wins the championships has been the attack, has been the offense, right? Now, your best defensive teams often make the cup runs, but the teams that usually win the league are your most attacking teams. And so for them to kind of go against the fray and say, we are just going to rest on our back line and just absorb your attack, they were able to do it to perfection, and it was awesome. I think that for them, they kind of saw that this is a viable option for them going forward. And for your inaugural season, not only does it help you plan for the future, it also shows incoming free agents, which there are about to be 3 teams worth of free agents. Hey, this is a good place for us to go play. This is a team that can contend for a title because they were just contending for a title.
And so you get a great season out of Spokane, and it's another really cool environment and another cool market that USL has dived into, both in the USL and in the Super League and in League One. When it comes to Union Omaha, are we understating or even underselling just how good Union Omaha have been, not just in League One, but in Open Cup and in all these different competitions? Where are they when it comes to the pantheon of franchises in USL League One across the whole as to what they've accomplished in a very short period of time?
I'm going to answer your question with another question.
Sure.
What if there was a MLS team that won 3 supporter shields and 2 championships in 5 years? What would you say about them?
They're pretty solid.
Yeah, they are one of the best teams, one of the best dynasties of all time. People still talk about the early 2000s, mid 2000s LA Galaxy, right? Union Omaha is doing the same thing, two divisions lower. Pound for pound, they're the best club, best run club in the US right now. They don't stop winning at all. They continue to build. They continue to build infrastructure, and they do it with new players. It's not like they got this special core of players and just rode them to death. They bring in new players, new coaches, new general managers all the time. That is really an establishment thing. It's not like you have one special coach, one special GM, one special whatever. This is just a club that is just better run than anybody else. Pound for pound, I think they're the best run club in the country.
And you look at the talent that's there. You mentioned folks like Dolabella, Nuhu, Schneider, Gallardo, and
Who
the
can you not name, by the way?
true,
Like, you could legit just name the entire best 11 and say, "Aren't they pretty good?"
yeah.
Like
Well, and that's the key here is that you have all of these folks that have come in, and you mentioned, and it's done with different. This run started with different coaches, so
Mhm.
you can go from Mims to Casciato. Things continue to be the same. You roll from the talent pool that they've had that has changed over time, and things continue to be the same. I mean, is it culture? Is it a front office approach from top down that doesn't matter who you slide in to be a part of this discussion? I mean, what is the secret sauce? Does it exist?
The secret sauce definitely exists. And a couple years ago, we talked to their former general manager and current general manager of the Buffalo team coming to USL, Peter Marlette. And one thing he talked about that has stuck with me for 2, 3 years now is when they try to bring in players, they try to take care of them. And that includes like stuff like housing. They aren't just going for the young bachelors out of college who are still willing to live with 5 other dudes. They're going after family men. They're going after people who have a wife and kids. How are we going to help house those guys? How are we going to help house the people with 2 dogs, 3 cats? Not every place wants to have pets that they're renting to. How do they help those guys? How do we help the people who are fresh out of college and they don't have anybody? They can't live on their own yet. They are trying to get in every type of player, young talent that eventually gets moved on to MLS, like we've seen with them move several players on now or up to USL Championship. And they also have guys who are veterans of this league who are old enough to have families who are getting towards the end of it, but they have to take care of children. And they're bringing all of those guys in. And that started with an initial just ownership and general manager philosophy of we are going to take care of all of our guys and we can bring in every guy because we want to support every guy. And Peter Marlette's gone now, but that same philosophy is still here. And, being kind of from the South, right? We kind of think about this with college football,
Yeah.
but some programs recruit themselves. Alabama doesn't have to recruit Alabama, like doesn't have to recruit as hard. They are Alabama. At this point, Union Omaha has a reputation of winning. People want to go to Union Omaha to win, but the culture they established from day one is what allowed it to happen to begin with. And they have not changed that formula in the slightest.
You had three folks play all 24 matches: Blake Malone, Luca Mastrantonio, and Rashid Nuhu. Obviously, when you've got a guy like Rashid Nuhu between the sticks, and he's been a stalwart there in Omaha ever since basically the franchise began.
Yep.
When you've got a guy that's a keeper that's been there, I mean, you can't ask for any better stability than that. You've got Gomez, Knapp, and Lagos Kunga, who played in 23 matches. Pedro Dolabella started 22 of the 22 that he was in. Then you end up with guys like Meshach Jerome, and we'll get into Meshach's story coming up in just a bit. Zico Lewis, who a lot of folks know from his time with Charleston Battery. Then Steven Dos Santos, who has been in USL Championship in multiple locations.
Ever. Yeah.
Ottawa and Tampa Bay are the two that stick out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these veterans that we're looking at here that are just part of that DNA. But you look at the folks that started in north of 20 games, and you're looking at 9 folks: Malone, Mastrantonio, Nuhu, Gomez, Knapp, Kunga, Dolabella, Gallardo, and Misael Rodriguez all played in north of 20 games this season for Union Omaha. Stability is also a part of it. Not having to deal with a whole lot of injuries is a part of it too.
Yeah. I mean, last year, towards the middle of the season, I mean, if you remember last year when they went on their just death run, essentially of just killing everybody, they were hurt for the beginning of the season where we were like, is Coach Dom the guy? What's going on here? Mims leaves, everything falls apart. Then midway through the season, they're like, oh yeah, we're Union Omaha, and they just kind of go murder ball.
Yes.
And that's what happened last year. And it was impressive to watch. And you had a core that got hurt, and it led to this core. You had guys who got hurt, and it led to what you have found here. And yeah, they got pretty lucky with not having those injuries. But you also look at the guys on their bench, and the guys on their bench can run circles around a lot of the teams in this league starters. So even if they got hurt, oh well.
Oh, and it's like, oh well, absolutely. And so, not necessarily a surprise that that has occurred with Union Omaha. When it comes to your starting 11, give me your best 11 in League One, and how many of it is Union Omaha, and how many of it is other dudes? I guess I should phrase it that way.
Um, I'm trying to think right now of what the league gave as the best 11. And honestly, I feel like the league got it pretty right.
Yeah, and
The only
that's why I was trying to figure out what your differences might be.
That's the thing is like you look at I'm trying to think of because this is all, people who follow the league pretty hard to give their best 11. Really, you look at Dolabella, who was the only first team selection for Union Omaha,
Right.
and that doesn't feel too off to me, to
Yeah.
be honest. You could pick someone, your favorite person from the back line, and you can say, "Yep, they belong there." I You can have a conversation about Nuhu being in goal for them,
Yeah,
and
and
I would listen to it.
Sean Lewis was from One Knox, though, was
Yep,
named Keeper of the Year.
yep. I mean, he had a great season, don't get me wrong, but like goalkeeper, it's what's your flavor of goalkeeper essentially. You have three different goalkeepers of Lola Delgado, and then you have Sean Lewis, and then you have Rashid Nuhu, all different cats who they kind of just do different things, and it's what's your flavor.
Yeah.
Um Mastritonio, I think is the guy that I would put in
Okay.
over Skelton.
Hmm.
But the thing is that this is a team not necessarily built up of all league players. It's just if this is a team that's built on second and like if you were to have a second and third team like the NBA does, they go all the way down to like third or fourth team, I think.
Yeah.
This is a team full of second and third team players that they have a couple of superstars and then the rest of them are just better than your guys. And that's what's made them so impressive.
All right. So if we look at it and we go, Liam McKinnon, J.C. Obregon, Dolabella,
Yep.
Kempish Valdemar, Tequila, Ropapa Mensa, probably from Chattanooga, either Vivas or Fonseca from Tormenta, Cameron Lancaster or Atez Juve from Lexington,
Mhm.
Leonardo Castro, Galindrez, Rendon, Luis Heel, Josue Gomez. I mean, you could probably go what? I mean, Lagos might get some votes at some point. Chandler O'Dwyer out of Richmond. So I mean, there's some there, and you probably could go 18 deep to try to come up with a starting 11, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely could. And especially when you look at the forward line, I think that's where a lot of Union Omaha seems to not have talent. And it's because everybody scores. They don't have a goal scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, if Liam McKinnon didn't score, good luck Greenville.
Yeah.
Obregon didn't score for Charlotte. You kind of had other options, but good luck Charlotte.
Yes.
Ethan Howard didn't score for Northern Colorado. Good luck NoCo.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Rendon and Powder were also fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but like those are the kind of things you're looking at. Union Omaha is just a team, man, and it's so hard to explain because you would not. I don't think you would replace any of the Union Omaha players with anyone in that league best 11 because you feel like if you take one of those guys out, suddenly it's like this team doesn't work like it should.
Huh.
But you also say, are they all league? No, not really. It's just bizarre how well they work.
Yeah. I mean, you end up with pieces of the whole. Then you can sit there and say, yeah, I understand their piece in this act, where
Mhm.
it's like where the pieces make the whole what it is. It's not just like a dude and then others around it at Union Omaha. It's basically, and I say this a lot, that it comes to almost like a Borg-like mentality where you have 11 or 15 guys coming together as a group under Dominic Casciato. You get what you see from Union Omaha, but it's not just like a guy and then 13 or 14 others. It is truly a collective, I think, at Union Omaha that
Right.
makes it work so well.
Well, if people follow the European game a little bit, the fall of Real Madrid a few years ago was honestly signing too many superstars.
Yeah.
If you remember, like, they had so many just really, really good players, and then their couple of guys. When they kept signing a bunch of guys because they were like, "Hey, we have all the money in the world. We'll just sign every superstar," it all fell apart. Union Omaha is kind of like that, where they could go and sign this entire USL league, all league team,
Yeah.
but would it be as good as this team? I just don't think so.
Who's your league MVP? And
Um,
how do you gauge MVPs? Do you sit there and go like what you were mentioning with JC Obregon, where if they don't have Obregon, then Charlotte is a lot worse off than they are. If Greenville doesn't have a McKinnon, they're worse off than they are. How do you gauge an MVP vote?
See, I know there's some people who are like golden boot winner equals MVP. I'm usually not in that boat. I tend to go towards the side of center backs and goalkeepers because they are just super underrated.
Yeah.
However, Liam McKinnon was that for Greenville too, that if he wasn't on, Greenville just wasn't winning. That he did the whole most valuable player thing of if you took him out of the team, what is Greenville triumph? And you add on top of that, he scores goals for fun. I do think it ends up being McKinnon. Although Bruno Rendon is very close for me.
Okay. Mentioning the franchises that are no longer a part of USL League One. Have you heard any other updates? I mean, Central Valley, we didn't get the chance to talk about Central Valley last time. Literally, the soccer stadium at Fresno State was being disassembled. I'm guessing they're remodeling it or something.
Well,
In
it
season
was funny because when we talked, I told you as we were talking, I got an email
Yeah.
that said that they were taking out Fuego stands.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's that about?" And then we found out later.
Yeah. And so they're taking out the stands at Fresno, and like I said, I guess it's a remodeling. And so Central Valley Fuego and League One have decided to mutually part ways. And you now have what's going on there, in addition to what's going on with Hailstorm. And we went through the lawsuit, and you can find the filing and you can find all the information where the Katofsky family are representing themselves, and that since
Hilarious.
they will, and they can do that because Jeff Katofsky is in fact a lawyer. So he is representing himself in this case filed in the state of California. Have you heard any updates about anything involving Hailstorm in Central Valley? What the issues going on? Where they're going? Do they exist? Or are they in the ethereal plane? What's going on with those two?
Only thing that has been kind of concrete backdoor conversations is everybody on those teams are free agents.
Okay.
The tea leaves are that Fuego is going to go semi-pro.
Okay.
Northern Colorado is honestly, your guess is as good as mine because, and I mean this in the meanest way possible, but
Okay.
judging by their ownership, they seem to be born to be in NISA. Like,
Wow.
like I don't know. There feels like there is an arrogance out of Northern Colorado that they are going to just be like, we will continue to play professional despite they shouldn't. And it's just so hard for me to gauge what's going on in Northern Colorado. When we had our conversation last week, the one after our regularly scheduled program,
Yes.
we had the conversation about League One needs to get its crap together because of the Memphis situation, because Memphis would rather go under than to go to League One.
Right.
However, I do believe that this Fuego and Northern Colorado situation is the league getting its crap together They looked at Central Valley and they looked at Northern Colorado and said, "You are not upholding any kind of professional standard. And why will we keep you around just so teams can play your guys? Absolutely not. You are bringing down the standard of this league. We don't want you anymore." I think if anything, League One finally put their foot down on something. And same thing with the championship. If anything, it helps, what's the word? Build a precedent
Yeah.
of get your crap together or you're going to be homeless.
Yeah. Or in your case, go to NISA
Go to
and,
NISA.
and fill them out. Because, with those two leaving, you're down to 10. But
plus 5.
yeah, you're bringing in over time AV Alta, which is Inland Empire in Southern California. So you get that market back.
Yep.
You're bringing in Corpus Christi eventually. You're bringing in FC Naples, which helps you out in your southeast footprint. Portland Hearts of Pine, that they signed Bobby Murphy to be their new head coach.
Yep.
Bringing him over from St. Louis City SC2. And so Portland Hearts of Pine has a coach, and Westchester's coming in. Texoma's coming in. It's an interesting situation at Texoma where you had a sporting director, and then the front office was like, well, hey, do you want to be head coach too after a couple of weeks? And so it's a learning experience for them. So you're down to 10, but you're going back to 15. And the hub idea that was part of the development in the overall of League One is getting closer and closer, I think, to becoming more of what they were looking for. You're getting closer to that hub idea where travel isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, I think you're still looking at specifically Spokane and Alta, and you're just like, bless your hearts. Like you're having to travel forever.
Yeah.
I, for one, and I am putting this out there for anybody in Spokane or Portland.
Okay.
Get me on the flight from Spokane to Portland because I just want to experience how long that's going to be.
You ain't kidding, brother.
Like, it's not as bad as Miami to Seattle, but you're going into Canadian airspace at that point.
Well, my guess is that they're probably going Spokane to Minneapolis and then Minneapolis to New York or Boston and then Boston to Portland. That's my guess.
That's what you would think. But, man, I mean, that is going to be brutal.
Yes.
But, I mean, that said, you're looking at Heart of Pine, who are starting off, and I am very bullish on what they're already doing.
Okay.
They have plans. They have open tryouts. They have just an remnants of we have a pulse and know what we're doing. You're looking at adding in 5, Naples, and then you have Texoma, you have Alta, you have Heart of Pine. There's the 2 others that I'm just completely blanking on that you've already.
Corpus Christi and Westchester.
Yeah, Westchester and Corpus Christi, where I think the league is going to be okay. I think if they can hold on to these 15 teams and add in a few more, you can go into conferences and you're going to be stable. The issue is come 2027, 2028, when Union Omaha moves up to the championship.
Yeah.
That is going to be who goes next, because it feels like if they go, somebody else goes too.
Yeah, not a shock. Speaking of USL Championship, Phoenix Rising appointed Pomadou Ka as their new head coach. So he'll be at the corner of 38th and Washington. And we also have the USL Championship happening this weekend. Switchbacks for brunch on Saturday morning, local time, noon Eastern, Rhode Island and Colorado Springs in Widener Field in beautiful downtown Colorado Springs, Colorado. You did not have Rhode Island and Colorado Springs on the bingo card, did you?
No, but we talked about this a while back. I'm also not surprised at all. Not on my bingo card. My bracket's been busted a long time ago, but I'm not shocked. This is just such a good Colorado Springs team, and this is a really good Rhode Island team. You mentioned the 10 a.m. kick local, and James Chambers has kind of come out and said this kind of puts a damper on things having to play at 10 a.m. And you know what? I get that. Also think that for the league, this is such a no-brainer because it's on CBS proper and it's a lead-in to a Big Ten football game.
Yeah.
you're gonna have bars. I know, I worked in one where what we did was,
Uh,
"Hey, it's Saturday, put on the football channels and set it and forget it."
mhm.
That's
Well,
what you're
I mean, think about it. You start with the USL championship. Then you go into your B1G game of the week. Then
Yep,
you come out of that, and I'm guessing you're going to do local news at 7 o'clock or 7:30. Then you have the NWSL championship
yeah,
game after that. So literally, it's football, and football going from like noon until 10 or 10:30 at night
yeah.
on Big CBS and Paramount Plus making a massive investment in the game as the pieces of bread in the Saturday sandwich there with a championship and the NWSL championship.
I know that there are some people who are against it, but I just think it's such a no-brainer. It's such a no-brainer in terms of just building the league. I also think when you're looking at who do you wanna put on TV, Widener Field is one of the best that you have. I mean, it is one of the best facilities in the league, right? I mean, I think people get caught up and starry-eyed at Louisville City and don't see what the Colorado Switchbacks have because, Eastern Conference bias and all.
Yeah.
I mean, Colorado Springs, I think, is going to blow people's minds on how nice it is. As for the actual game itself, boy, do you not sit there and say this Rhode Island team has the magic.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at what they were able to do. Kind of joked about it on Blue Sky a little bit, but Quizera was out, and it's like, man, it must really suck to lose your international player, your international like right wing back for a while. I guess we have to put in last year's league Golden Boot winner. Darn. I
Hey,
mean,
hey, I mean, SDH, believe it or not, I'm not the kind of guy that pats myself on the back or blows my own horn, but toot toot. SDH bump again, Rhode Island FC with Cano Smith visiting for the second week in a row. They win, and they're going to the championship. So what's your gut tell you in this one? Or is your gut telling you that ride Rhode Island? What do you think? He's hedging. He didn't know. He's
I
thinking.
really don't know because my brain tells me that Rhode Island has the juice, but I also think that 10 a.m. Mile High
Mm-hmm.
bodes well for Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
I don't know when Rhode Island's going out there, but if they only go out there a day or two before, you're gonna have to fight to exist in that.
Well, there are two trains of thought that you either go out there early and get acclimated, or basically you just parachute in, don't deal with it, and then leave. So
Yeah,
that way it doesn't affect you. So it will be interesting. By the way, juice boxes on this one. This is lazy. Colorado Springs and Rhode Island right now are both at a plus 152. Your 90-minute draws a plus 227. I anticipate that the juice box purveyors, those numbers will shift as we get later in the week. But right now they're just kind of like, they're both at a plus 152.
lazy. Yeah,
Base.
honestly, I kind of felt that the initial leans were going to go in the way of Colorado Springs, where they say, oh, they have barely given up any goals and they're the home team and the second seed in the West. Meanwhile, Rhode Island, ships a few goals here and there, and they're the fifth seed away from home. It feels like if you have a lazy bet maker that is going to go Colorado Springs, but there's a lot of Rhode Island fans out there, so they're probably going to be betting on their team, which is going to shift odds.
Mm-hmm.
So it I feel like it is a true 50-50 though. This does not feel like a game that's going to end in regulation.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't talk about the Rhode Island Charleston match.
Yeah.
Genuinely one of the most entertaining matches I've seen in such a long time. The last 10 minutes, I was on the edge of my seat. My heart was pounding, and I'm like, I'm not a fan of either team.
Hey.
Like, I have no investment, and I was like shaking. It
Well,
was,
that's what you want this time of year.
yeah, and it was, I, I, I don't know. I think it's going to be Rhode Island, but what Colorado Springs has done defensively and what they can get out of any of their kind of guys, I think is going to be impressive. I think what's going to come down to is honestly, you're looking at an Albert If he starts, awesome. If he's on the bench, you sub somebody out and you bring in Albert Dequa. Uh, Justin Dillon's a fantastic striker for Colorado Springs, but he's not Dequa.
Okay.
I just don't think they have that same kind of firepower on the bench that I think if Colorado Springs goes down, I don't know if they have anybody sitting on the bench that can truly change the game for them that's not already playing.
All right. Question to the floor before you get out of here for this week. Ewan with a question.
Yeah.
Level of soccer in the Western Conference, USL Championship, has been underwhelming this year. Any reasons as to why?
Of course, it's a simulation. None of it's real. But honestly, I think what's happened this year is that all these teams were super close. They were just really close, and it was more of a bloodbath. The East, the top 8 were really, really good, and then you kinda look at the bottom 4, and you're like, "That makes sense." You didn't really have any true bottom feeders in the West, and I know you say, "Well, El Paso." El Paso wasn't eliminated proper, I think, until 2 games left to go in the
Well, and I
season.
think the Wilmer Cabrera coaching change. Obviously, you got your new coach bump, and then they settled in, and then they had the reacclimating after you get your bump, you get your crest, and then everything evens out, and you saw that
Yeah.
rush that they made to the end.
Yeah, I think that what we kinda see with the West is that it's it's just so close, and they have a lot of, frankly, similar play styles. I think when you look at the West, the one thing that's really cool about the West, and you can kinda see it in MLS too, but you can really see it in the USL, is they sign to their demographic. Look at how many, like, Hispanic players play in the West versus the East.
Yeah.
And a lot of those Spanish players, not to typecast, but they do. They bring a similar game because, I mean, they are taught a certain way. The Americans are taught a certain way, right? And what that Hispanic flair comes from is that they end up playing very similar football, right? And the teams that kind of break that mold, like your Sacramento, sort of your Oaklands, they just weren't hot this year. And so your best teams were all playing the same game. And I think it's what makes it look underwhelming is because you just kind of see the same game all over the field. But I actually think that the West was pretty good. The point totals don't agree, but I think it's just because the whole West was good.
And if they're beating the ish out of each other, then you're not going to get a whole lot of threes. You're going to get a bunch of ones as
Yep.
opposed to all that. All right. Broadcast plans for the USL show, sir, are
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight, Tuesday, where we're going to preview the USL Championship, but we're going to start off with League One and talk a little bit of Fire and Ice Derby and how they're both leaving together and how romantic and beautiful that is. And then whatever else kind of pops up. And then next week, we'll talk about the championship, of course.
absolutely as you should. We will see you again this time next week where we will discuss the championship, your best 11s, and storylines across the board in both USL Championship and USL League One, and kind of look in the crystal ball a little bit because it's never too soon to think about 2025 season because it's going to be just around the corner. As always, my friend Kaylor, great to see you, and we will catch up with you again next week. Have a great broadcast tonight with the At the USL show, which is right there.
Right
there. Yeah, it's right there. The At the USL show official scarf is here in the studio. We couldn't resist.
Of course.
Be well, my friend. We'll see you next week.
You. See you.
All right. There goes Kaylor. And Kaylor is going to get ready for his show because, he's got things to prepare for and all that. So he's going to actually go back into the real world, work for a couple of hours, then get ready with more.